On our 7th wedding anniversary. My husband, Nate Anderson, told me that he had offended a mob boss. On the same night he sent our daughter, Poppy, Anderson, and I to go into hiding in the desert. Halfway through the journey, I recalled that I had forgotten to pack my daughter's asthma medication. Hence, I quickly went back. However, I saw Nate celebrating with his friends in our mansion. Nate, aren't you worried that Lila and Poppy are going to starve in the remote area that you sent them to? Nate said indifferently, don't worry about it. I've repackaged the unsold dog food from Emma's shop and sent it to them. They won't starve. Emma leaned her head against Nate's chest. Baby, you're so smart. Do you think our child will be more like you or me? Nate looked at her lovingly and kissed her. Regardless of who our child resembles, I'll love him or her the most. His friend could not stand it anymore. Since you don't love Lila, why did you marry her and have Poppy with her? Nate lit a cigarette. He looked a little cross. I only slept with Lila because I was afraid that Emma would think I was inexperienced. But I didn't expect her to get pregnant after that one time. I only married her out of responsibility. I feel bad for Emma. She was with me for so many years. But our relationship had no label. Lila finds out that Emma's pregnant. She'll definitely make a scene. I have no choice but to simply make up a lie and send her away. I stood on the other side of the door feeling chilled to the bone. 3 years later, Nate video called me with a big smile. Lila, it's all over. Are you and Poppy doing well? I'll come get you. I looked at the man who was hugging me tightly in his sleep. You're doing good. My new husband keeps me very satisfied. And Poppy has started to call him daddy. On the other end of the video call, Nate Anderson was slightly stunned. Then he laughed. Lila, why are you still so stubborn? I know you've suffered in the desert for 3 years. And that you're upset about it. You just said you have a new husband to make me feel bad, right? I stared coldly at his smug face. Nate, I'm serious. He did not believe me at all. Emma Smith suddenly popped up on the screen. She had makeup on. She was also wearing the necklace that Nate said was for me. On our 7th anniversary. Lila, don't be stubborn. There are only camels and sand in the desert. How could you have found a new husband? Did you randomly marry a homeless man who was walking through the desert? She giggled and looked at me tauntingly. Nate pulled her into his arms. Emma, don't say that. It makes sense that her mind isn't quite right since she's been all alone over there with Poppy. I wanted to throw up when I saw them echoing each other. Are you done with your act? If so, goodbye. Nate was no longer smiling. He started scolding me with a serious expression. Lila, you're being difficult. I've worked hard in the past 3 years to placate the mob boss. After dealing with that, the first thing I thought of was getting you back. Why are you acting so snarky? Emma added fuel to the fire, saying, Nate, I bet Lila's blaming you for not sending her any good food. But all that dog food was expensive. It was high in nutritional value. It always goes out of stock. I was triggered by her words. Since it's so nutritious, why don't you save it for yourself? Emma's expression changed and she immediately teared up. Nate, look at her. Nate immediately hugged her lovingly. Lila, I'll immediately bring you and Poppy back on my private jet. You have to apologize to Emma once we're there. I ended the call and tossed my phone aside. The man behind me turned around and wrapped his strong arm around my waist. He rested his chin on my shoulder. Who called you? I patted the back of his hand. A lunatic. Liam White did not question me any further. He tightened his arm around me and hugged me. It's Poppy's birthday tomorrow. I got someone to put up the party decorations. I turned around and met his eyes. 3 years ago, I got lost in the desert while carrying Poppy in my arms. She was feverish. She was having an asthma attack and her breathing was shallow. I cried desperately on the sand dune with her in my arms. I only had the dried food that Nate sent me. I opened the packages and saw that they were filled with dog food. Just when we thought that we were about to die in the desert, Liam passed by with his team. He brought us back to the oasis. He got us the best doctor and saved Poppy's life. Over the last 3 years, he had been treating us very well. He even became a father figure for Poppy. He gave Poppy and me a true home. The next morning at the Oasis Resort, I was about to head down to the lobby to retrieve the custom-made birthday cake for Poppy. When I walked toward the lift, I heard a female voice screeching. She complained, "What lousy place is this? The wind is so strong and there is so much sand. My new bag is dirty now." I paused and looked over. Nate was holding his luggage in one hand. With his other hand, he held the hand of a 3-year-old boy. Emma was walking beside them. As she patted the dust off her body into stain. I did not expect them to find me. Nate was stunned when he looked up. Then he strode over. Lila. What are you doing here? He sized me up. I was wearing a casual outfit and I had no jewelry on. I work here, I simply said. Emma stepped forward and swept her critical gaze over me. Nate, just like I said. Lila must be having a terrible life here. I can't believe she's working as an attendant at such a lousy hotel. She emphasized the word lousy. Nate frowned. Lila. Go quit your job right now. I'm here to take you home today. We need someone to take care of Emma's child. You can go back home and take care of both Emma and her child. I almost laughed incredulously. Nate, if there's something wrong with your head, you should go see a doctor. Why would I go back with you and serve you? Nate's expression sank. Lila. How can you say that about me? Back then, I only sent you here to protect you. Over the last 3 years, I was under so much pressure and I worked so hard. Things finally calmed down. Once I settled everything, I immediately came to you. Why are you throwing a tantrum? I felt disgusted when I saw how unapologetic he was. Protect me. You gave Poppy and me the unsold dog food from Emma's shop. Is that how you protected us? Nate's eyes flashed. Emma immediately said, Lila. How can you mistake our kindness for ill intent? That dog food was imported. If it weren't for the fact that Nate felt bad for you, you would have already starved to death in the desert. She brought that young boy to me. Say hi to Lila. The young boy. Oleander rolled his eyes and spat at me. Ugly witch. I don't want to say hi to you. Emma did not chastise his bad behavior. Instead, she giggled. Please don't take offense. Kids always say the funniest things. I looked at her coldly. You better keep an eye on your son. Otherwise, I don't mind teaching him a lesson on your behalf. Nate shielded Emma. Lila. Why are you making things difficult for a child? Have you lost your manners after spending 3 years in the desert? I was about to refute him, when Poppy's bright voice called out from the lift. Mommy. She ran to me while holding a balloon. Nate's eyes brightened when he saw Poppy. Poppy, come over here and let Daddy have a good look at you. Poppy hid behind me and looked at Nate vigilantly. You're not my daddy. My daddy is Liam. Nate's expression fell. Lila. What nonsense are you teaching our child? Don't tell me that you really found another man. I was too lazy to argue with him. I sneered and did not answer him. I was about to bring my daughter away, but Ollie stopped us. He stared at Poppy for a while. His gaze fell on the pink diamond necklace around Poppy's neck. It was a customized birthday present that Liam gave her. A hint of jealousy flashed in Emma's eyes when she saw Ollie staring at the necklace. Nate, look at Poppy's necklace. It's a limited edition pink diamond. How can Lila afford it on an attendant's salary? Nate followed her gaze. He sneered. Lila, are you willing to stoop so low for money? Are you selling yourself here? I slapped him and it was so loud it echoed in the hall. Nate's face turned sideways from the impact. He clutched his cheek and stared at me in disbelief. Lila, how dare you slap me? Emma screamed. Lila. You're insane. How can you simply hit Nate? Ollie, who was in Emma's arms, suddenly rushed over and rammed into me. Witch. How dare you hit my daddy? Get lost. I was furious. As I pushed him away, I did not use much strength. But Ollie fell onto the floor and started wailing. Emma cradled Ollie in her arms pitifully. Lila, are you insane? How can you hit a 3-year-old child? Nate, look at what Lila has become. Nate was furious. He looked at me with disappointment plain on his face. Lila immediately apologized to Emma and Ollie. Then take the necklace from Poppy and give it to Emma. As a token of your remorse. You shouldn't let a child wear what you've stolen. I shielded Poppy. Nate. Please don't accuse me of stealing. The necklace was given to Poppy as a gift. I can't give it to Emma. Nate ran out of patience when he saw how stubborn I was. His expression darkened. Lila. It seems that I'm still too nice to you. If I don't teach you a lesson, you won't learn. Nate reached out and grabbed my wrist tightly. He ignored my struggles and Poppy's cries as he dragged me to the outdoor swimming pool. It was early spring and the wind was still chilly. The swimming pool was extremely cold. Nate, let me go. If you dare to touch me, Liam won't let you off the hook. Emma laughed. Nate. I bet some random man must have scammed Lila. How dare she use Liam? From the most affluent white family in the city to scare you? Everyone knows that Mr. White is a stoic man. I bet he doesn't even know what Lila looks like. Nate sneered as he peered down at me in disdain. Lila, you should think twice before you lie. You're almost 30 years old and you have a child. Why do you think Liam will like you? Did you come up with these lies just to make me angry? I stumbled as he kept dragging me. With much difficulty, I freed one of my hands and took out my phone. 8, if you don't believe what I said. I'm going to give Liam a call now. Emma snatched my phone from me and sneered. She said, "Lila, don't even think of getting a rogue man to save you." After she spoke, she raised her hand and threw my phone into the swimming pool. My phone immediately sank to the bottom of the pool. "Ma, what are you doing?" Emma covered her mouth in fake naivety. "Oh, no. It slipped. But Lila, it's just a phone. Who cares if it's gone? I'll get Nate to buy you a new one." The same time, Ollie, who was staring at Poppy in hatred, pushed Poppy forcefully. "Bad girl. He's my daddy, not yours. Die." Poppy lost her balance immediately and fell into the cold swimming pool. Poppy was flailing fearfully in the water. She had asthma. In the cold water, she could barely even cry for help. "Poppy." I grabbed Nate's sleeve. My voice was hoarse from extreme fear. "Nate, please save her. Poppy's your daughter. I don't know how to swim. Please save her." Nate seemed like he was persuaded. He was just about to take off his shirt to jump into the pool, when Emma suddenly said, "Nate, don't believe her lies. Ollie just wanted to play with Poppy. How deep can the pool be? I bet she's using this opportunity to make you feel sorry for them." Nate flung my hand away. He looked at me coldly again. "Lila, this is what you and Poppy deserve. Let Poppy learn her lesson in the pool." I watched as Poppy's struggling started to slow. Her head was submerged underwater. I could no longer think straight anymore. I leaped into the cold swimming pool. The bone-chilling cold overwhelmed me, and I immediately lost all my air. I did not know how to swim. I could only follow my motherly instinct and flail in the water. As I tried my best to swim toward Poppy, water kept gushing into my nose and mouth. It felt excruciating every time I tried to breathe. After more than 10 minutes, I finally managed to grab Poppy's tiny cold hand. My very last breath, I pushed her upwards and toward the edge of the swimming pool. Poppy lay by the pool and coughed furiously. Her face was purplish from the cold as she panted. I grabbed onto the edge of the swimming pool with much difficulty. I was about to climb out of the pool when a long broomstick appeared before me. All of a sudden, Emma was holding the other end of the broomstick. As she smiled viciously, "Lila, let me help you." She fiercely poked my hand with the stick. "Ah," I screamed in pain and let go involuntarily. "Since you like water that much, you should spend a little more time in the pool. Use that time to reflect on the attitude you've been giving Nate." Emma used the stick to poke my shoulder and pushed me back to the deeper end of the pool. I was once again submerged under the ice-cold water. I felt suffocated as I desperately struggled underwater. I heard Nate's indifferent voice. "Emma, this is enough to scare her. Don't accidentally kill her. Don't worry, Nate. I know what I'm doing." Even though she said that she kept hitting my head with the broomstick, I kept sinking from pain, and the cold numbed my consciousness. At the same time, an angry voice shouted, "Who are you? How dare you harass my wife?" The ice-cold water of the swimming pool pressed against Lila's chest like a lead. Wait. Her lungs burned, desperate for oxygen, but every time she tried to claw her way to the surface, Emma's heavy wooden broomstick slammed down on her head and shoulders, forcing her back into the dark, freezing depths. Above the surface, Nate stood by, his arms crossed, his face a mask of cold indifference. "Emma, this is enough to scare her." Nate's muffled voice drifted through the water. "Don't accidentally kill her." "Don't worry, Nate, I know what I'm doing," Emma sneered, her face twisted in a mixture of malice and jealousy. She thrust the broomstick down once more, striking Lila's shoulder. "She needs to learn her place. Let's see if her imaginary Mr. White will fly out of the sky to save her now." Lila's strength was fading. The cold had numbed her limbs, and her vision was beginning to vignette into darkness. She could hear Poppy's desperate, wheezing cries from the edge of the pool. "My baby," Lila thought, her heart breaking. "I can't die here. If I die, who will protect Poppy?" Suddenly, a thunderous roar shattered the chilly morning air. "Who are you? How dare you harass my wife?" The voice was like a clap of thunder, carrying an aura of absolute authority and terrifying rage. Before Nate or Emma could even turn around, the sound of rapid, heavy footsteps echoed across the marble tiles. A towering figure in a tailored charcoal suit sprinted toward the edge of the pool. It was Liam White. Behind him, a dozen tall, burly security guards in dark suits moved with military precision, instantly surrounding the area. Liam didn't hesitate for a fraction of a second. He didn't care about his bespoke suit, his luxury watch, or the cold weather. With a powerful leap, he dove straight into the deep end of the freezing pool. Under the water, Lila felt a strong, warm hand wrapped securely around her waist. Liam's face, usually so calm and stoic, was filled with intense panic and determination as he pulled her toward him. He kicked hard against the water, dragging her upward. Gasps. Lila broke through the surface, coughing violently and choking on the water she had inhaled. She clung to Liam's neck, shivering uncontrollably. Lila. Lila, look at me. Liam's voice was raw with emotion as he swam to the steps, carrying her effortlessly in his arms. He stepped out of the pool and gently laid her down on a lounge chair. Poppy. Poppy. Lila gasped, her voice barely a whisper as she pointed a trembling, pale finger toward her daughter. Liam immediately wrapped Lila in his damp suit jacket and knelt beside Poppy, who was shivering and wheezing on the deck. He pulled a portable rescue inhaler from his pocket, something he always carried just in case, and gently administered it to the little girl. Shoo, Poppy, Daddy's here. Breathe, sweetheart. You're safe, Liam whispered, cradling the small girl against his warm chest. Within a few moments, Poppy's breathing began to stabilize, though she continued to sob quietly, clutching Liam's shirt. Only when he was certain that Lila and Poppy were breathing did Liam slowly stand up. He turned around to face Nate and Emma. The air around the pool seemed to drop another 10 degrees. Liam's eyes, usually a calm, deep brown, were now as cold and sharp as shards of ice. Nate Anderson stood frozen, his face draining of all color. As a businessman who had spent the last 3 years trying to climb into the upper echelons of high society, Nate recognized the man standing before him. The sharp jawline, the imposing height, and the sheer aura of absolute power, there was no mistake. This was Liam White, the head of the White Consortium, the most powerful and wealthy family in the entire region. He was a man who could destroy a multi-million-dollar corporation with a single phone call. And Mr. White? Nate stammered, his knees trembling. You are Liam White? Emma, still holding the wet broomstick, looked confused. She scoffed, trying to maintain her arrogant demeanor. Nate, who is this guy? Why are you acting so scared? He's probably just some middle manager at this resort trying to act tough. Look at him, he's soaked. Shut up, Emma. Nate hissed, his voice cracking with panic. He grabbed her arm and pulled her back, practically shaking. This is Mr. Liam White. He owns this entire resort. He owns half the city. Emma's jaw dropped. The broomstick clattered out of her hand, rolling across the damp tiles. She looked at Lila, then at Liam, her mind struggling to process the reality. Lila's new husband wasn't a homeless man or a random scammer. It was the most untouchable bachelor in the country. Mr. White, Nate pleaded, stepping forward and bowing slightly, his voice dripping with sycophancy. This is all a massive misunderstanding. I am Nate Anderson, CEO of Anderson Logistics. The woman you just pulled out of the water, she is actually my wife. We've been married for over 7 years. She ran away 3 years ago with our daughter, and I've been looking for them ever since. I was just teaching her a lesson for being so stubborn. Liam didn't say a word. He slowly walked over to one of his security guards, took a dry towel, and began to dry his hands. Every movement was slow, deliberate, and terrifying. Your wife? Liam's voice was dangerously low, vibrating with a quiet, lethal fury. Yes. Yes, Mr. White, Nate said quickly, thinking he had found a way out. She's my wife. And that little girl, Poppy, is my biological daughter. We had some domestic issues, and she's clearly lost her mind living in this desert. She's probably been lying to you, claiming she's married to you. I apologize for the trouble she's caused your resort. I'll take her and the child off your hands. Immediately. Smack. Before Nate could finish his sentence, Liam's fist connected heavily with his jaw. The force of the blow sent Nate flying backward, crashing onto the hard tile floor. He groaned in agony, clutching his bleeding mouth, several of his teeth loose. Nate! Emma screamed, rushing to his side, her face pale with terror. She looked up at Liam, trembling. How can you hit him? We are guests here. We have rights. I'm going to call the police. Call them, Liam said, his voice devoid of any warmth. Please, call them. Because if you don't, I will. He walked back to Lila, kneeling down to wrap a plush, dry blanket around her shivering shoulders. He pulled her close, kissing her wet forehead. I'm so sorry, Lila. I should have been here sooner. I'm okay. Lila whispered, her voice hoarse. But they tried to drown me, Liam. Emma kept pushing me back under. And their son pushed Poppy into the pool. She has severe asthma. Liam's chest rose and fell with a heavy, dangerous breath. He looked up at his head of security, Frank, a mountain of a man who looked like he could crush a boulder with his bare hands. Frank, Liam ordered, his voice steady but carrying the weight of a death sentence. Bring them to the VIP holding room. Do not let them leave. If any of them tries to run, break their legs. Yes, Mr. White, Frank replied, his face expressionless as he signaled the other guards. No. You can't do this. Nate yelled as two massive guards grabbed him by the arms, dragging him up from the floor. Mr. White. I did nothing wrong. Lila is my legal wife. You are committing kidnapping. We'll see about that, Liam said coldly. Take them. Emma began to scream and thrash as she was grabbed, while Ollie started crying loudly, clinging to his mother. But the guards showed no mercy, dragging the three of them away from the poolside and toward the resort's private holding wing. In the warmth of the resort's presidential suite, Lila and Poppy were wrapped in thick, heated blankets. A team of elite private doctors rushed to the suite by Liam's command, was busy checking Poppy's lungs and administering a warm nebulizer treatment. Her vitals are stabilizing, Mr. White, the chief physician said, bowing respectfully. The cold water triggered a mild asthma attack, but thanks to the quick administration of the inhaler and the dry blankets, she will make a full recovery. Mrs. White is also fine, just suffering from mild shock and exhaustion. Thank you, doctor. Ensure they have the best care. Monitor Poppy throughout the night, Liam instructed, his hand gently stroking Lila's damp hair. Once the medical team stepped out, leaving only a few trusted maids to tend to Poppy, Liam sat on the edge of the bed beside Lila. He took her hands, which were still slightly cold, and rubbed them between his own warm palms. Lila, tell me everything, Liam said softly, his eyes filled with a deep, protective tenderness. Who is Nate Anderson to you, really? And why did he treat you this way? Lila looked down, a tear escaping her eye and rolling down her cheek. 3 years ago. On our 7th wedding anniversary, Nate told me he had offended a powerful mob boss. He said our lives were in danger. He forced Poppy and me to pack a single bag and drove us out to the edge of the desert. He told us to go to an old abandoned cabin deep in the sands and wait for him. She paused, her body trembling slightly at the memory. Liam pulled her closer, wrapping his arms around her to give her strength. Halfway there, I realized I had forgotten Poppy's asthma medication. I was terrified she would have an attack, so I ran back to our mansion to grab it. But when I got there, there was no mob boss. There was no danger. Lila's voice turned bitter, filled with 3 years of accumulated pain. He was throwing a massive party. He was drinking and celebrating with his friends and Emma Smith. I heard him tell them that he only married me out of responsibility. Because I got pregnant. He said he loved Emma, and that he wanted to get rid of me because Emma was pregnant and didn't want me making a scene. He lied about the mob boss just to throw me into the desert. Liam's grip on her tightened, his knuckles turning white. And the food? He sent us boxes of what he claimed was expensive, imported food to keep us alive in the desert. But when I opened them, they were filled with repackaged, expired dog food from Emma's pet shop. If you hadn't found us, Liam, Poppy and I would have died of starvation or her asthma. Liam's face was a mask of sheer, terrifying rage. The air in the room felt heavy. He had known Lila had been abandoned in the desert, but he had never known the sickening details. He had assumed her ex-husband was just a coward who ran away from his debts. He never imagined a human being could be so monstrous as to feed his own wife and 3-year-old daughter expired dog food and leave them to die in the barren wasteland. He will pay for this, Liam said, his voice low, sounding like a promise made to the heavens. Every single tear you shed, every breath Poppy gasped for in that pool. I will make him pay 10,000 times over. Liam stood up, kissing Lila's cheek. Stay here with Poppy. Rest. I have some business to take care of in the VIP holding room. Liam. Lila called out softly, a look of worry in her eyes. Nate is cunning. He has some connections in the city's logistics industry. Liam gave her a rare, reassuring smile, though his eyes remained deadly cold. My love, in this city, his connections are nothing but dust under my feet. Trust me. In the VIP holding room, Nate and Emma were pacing back and forth nervously. Ollie was asleep on a sofa, exhausted from crying. Nate, what are we going to do? Emma whimpered, clutching her designer handbag. This is Liam White. He's a monster in the business world. If he wants to ruin us, we won't even have a place to sleep tonight. Shut up. Let me think. Nate snapped, rubbing his swollen jaw. He was sweating profusely. Lila is still my legal wife. I never signed any divorce papers, and neither did she. Under the law, she is still Mrs. Nate Anderson. Liam White is the one harboring another man's wife. If I play my cards right, I can use this to threaten him. He cares about his reputation. If the media finds out that the prestigious head of the White family is sleeping with a married woman, it will destroy the White Consortium's stock. Nate's eyes gleamed with a desperate, greedy light. Yes, that's it. I'll demand a massive settlement. 500 million, no, $1 billion. If he wants to keep Lila and Poppy, he has to buy them from me. Just as Nate was planning his twisted scheme, the heavy oak doors of the holding room swung open. Liam White walked in, followed by his personal assistant, Mark, who was holding a sleek black tablet. Several large security guards stood at the door, blocking any hope of escape. Liam sat down in a plush armchair across from Nate, crossing his legs elegantly. He looked down at Nate as if he were looking at a piece of garbage stuck to his shoe. Mr. White, Nate said, forcing a smile despite his swollen face. I'm glad you're here. We need to talk. I think we can come to an agreement. After all, Lila is still legally my wife. We never divorced. And Poppy is my biological daughter. If you want to keep them, I'm willing to cooperate, for a price. Liam didn't even blink. He simply gestured to Mark. Mark read the report, Liam said calmly. Mark stepped forward, his voice professional and cold. 3 years ago, Nate Anderson, CEO of Anderson Logistics, fabricated a threat from a local gang to force his wife, Lila Anderson, and daughter, Poppy, into the desert. He then filed a missing persons report, claiming they had run away with all his marital assets. 6 months later, utilizing a forged death certificate, Nate Anderson declared Lila Anderson legally dead to claim her personal inheritance of $2 million and her family's ancestral property. Nate's face instantly turned ash gray. What? That's a lie. I didn't do that. Furthermore, Mark continued, ignoring Nate's interruption, over the last 3 years, Anderson Logistics has been operating on forged shipping manifests, smuggling illegal luxury goods and counterfeit materials under the guise of medical supplies. The company is currently carrying a debt of $40 million, which was kept off the books through money laundering schemes operated by Emma Smith's pet supply chain. No, how do you know all this? Emma gasped, her face turning completely white. She dropped her bag, her hands shaking. It took my team exactly 10 minutes to unearth your entire life's history, Liam said, his voice smooth and terrifyingly calm. Nate, you thought you were clever. You thought you could hide your crimes. But in my eyes, you are nothing but an ant. Liam leaned forward, his eyes locking onto Nate's. You want to talk about legality? Since Lila was legally declared dead 3 years ago due to your forgery, your marriage to her is legally null and void. She is a free woman. And 6 months ago, she legally married me. She is now the matriarch of the White family. Nate felt as if a physical blow had struck his chest. Lila was legally dead? He had forged those papers to get her inheritance, but now, that very forgery had severed his legal tie to her, making her marriage to Liam completely legitimate. As for Poppy, Liam continued, I legally adopted her last year. She bears the name Poppy White. You have no legal claim to her. You are nothing to her but a stranger who tried to starve her to death. Mr. White, please. Nate fell to his knees, his arrogance completely shattered. He crawled toward Liam, trying to grab the hem of his trousers, but Frank stepped in, placing a heavy boot on Nate's shoulder and pinning him to the floor. Please, Mr. White. I was wrong. I was blinded by Emma. Nate cried out, pointing a finger at Emma. She was the one who tempted me. She told me she wanted Lila's mansion. She said Lila's family inheritance was wasted on her. I only did it because of her. Nate. You coward. Emma screamed, her eyes wide with betrayal. You were the one who wanted to get rid of Lila. You said she was boring and that you couldn't stand her. You're the one who repackaged the dog food. Shut up, you bitch. Nate yelled back, his face distorted with rage. If it wasn't for you and your stupid pet shop, would have never done it. Liam watched the two of them scream at each other, a look of profound disgust on his face. He waved his hand, and the room fell silent as the guards pressed Nate and Emma harder against the floor. Mark, begin the liquidation, Liam ordered. Yes, Mr. White, Mark replied, tapping on his tablet. Within the next 5 Minutes, all bank accounts associated with Anderson Logistics, Nate Anderson, and Emma Smith have been frozen. The shipping licenses for Anderson Logistics have been revoked by the Maritime Authority. The creditors for your $40 million debt have been notified of your financial fraud, and they are currently filing for immediate foreclosure on all your assets, including your mansion. No, no. Nate wailed, tears streaming down his face. My company. My mansion. Everything I worked for. And Emma, Liam turned his gaze to the trembling woman. Your pet shop chain has been shut down by the Health and Sanitation Department for distributing toxic, expired pet food. You will also be sued by the White Group's legal team for trademark infringement and distribution of hazardous materials. Please, Mr. White, have mercy. Emma sobbed, kneeling on the floor, banging her head against the marble. We have a child. Ollie is only 3 years old. He has nothing to do with this. You have a child? Liam's voice cracked like a whip. When you pushed my wife into the pool, when your son pushed my 4-year-old daughter into the water. Knowing she had asthma, did you think about the fact that she was a child? When you fed them dog food in the desert, did you think about mercy? Liam stood up, his towering figure casting a long, dark shadow over the ruined couple. You will receive exactly the amount of mercy you showed to Lila and Poppy, Liam said. Which is absolutely none. The next morning, the sun rose over the beautiful oasis resort, casting a golden glow over the lush palm trees and the sparkling, clean water of the swimming pools. In the grand courtyard, decorations were being put up for Poppy's 4th birthday party. Massive arches of pastel balloons, a beautiful stage shaped like a fairy tale castle, and tables filled with exquisite treats were being arranged by dozens of staff members. Lila stood on the balcony of the presidential suite, watching the preparations. She was wearing a beautiful, elegant white silk dress, her hair flowing gently in the desert breeze. She looked radiant, the pale, stressed look on her face from the day before completely gone. Liam walked up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist and resting his chin on her shoulder. Are you feeling better, my love? He murmured, kissing her neck. Much better, Lila smiled, turning around to face him. Thank you, Liam. For everything. You don't need to thank me. You are my wife. Protecting you and Poppy is my life's purpose, Liam said softly, his eyes filled with warmth. Now, come. There are some guests waiting for you downstairs. Lila raised an eyebrow. Guests? Yes. A farewell performance, Liam smiled darkly. Down in the resort's main lobby, Nate, Emma, and Ollie were being held by security. They looked completely different from the day before. Nate's expensive suit was wrinkled and covered in dust, his face swollen and bruised. Emma's makeup was smudged, her hair wild, and her designer clothes looked cheap and disheveled. All of their credit cards had been declined. Their phones were buzzing constantly with alerts from banks, creditors, and the police. They were completely, utterly ruined. When the elevator doors opened and Lila walked out, hand in hand with Liam, Nate's eyes lit up with a desperate hope. He broke away from the guard holding him and rushed toward Lila, throwing himself at her feet. Lila. Lila, my love, please save me. Nate begged, grabbing the hem of her white dress. I was wrong. I was a fool. I was manipulated by Emma. I still love you, Lila. We have 7 years of history. Think of Poppy. She needs her biological father. I can change, I promise. Just tell Mr. White to stop the foreclosure. Please. Lila looked down at the man who had once been her husband, the man she had loved and trusted with her entire heart. Now, looking at him kneeling in the dust, begging like a dog, she felt nothing but a profound sense of pity and disgust. Get your hands off my dress, Nate, Lila said, her voice calm and cold. You are getting it dirty. Nate froze, looking up at her in disbelief. Lila, how can you be so cold? I'm your husband. My husband? Lila let out a soft, bitter laugh. My husband died 3 years ago when he sent me and my daughter to starve in the desert with a box of dog food. The man standing in front of me is just a pathetic criminal. Lila, please. Emma also crawled over, sobbing hysterically. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said those things. I shouldn't have pushed you. It was all a joke, I swear. We were just playing. Please don't ruin our lives. Ollie is so young, he can't live on the streets. A joke? Lila turned her cold gaze to Emma. You hit me with a broomstick while I was drowning. You pushed my daughter into the freezing water. You think that's a joke? If Liam hadn't arrived, Poppy and I would be corpses at the bottom of that pool right now. No. No. Emma wept, covering her face. Liam stepped forward, placing a protective hand on Lila's waist. He looked at the security guards. Why are they still here? I thought I ordered them to be removed. Mr. White, Frank stepped forward, bowing. The police have just arrived. They are waiting outside to take them into custody. Excellent, Liam nodded. At that moment, 2 police officers walked into the lobby, carrying handcuffs. Behind them was a legal representative from the White Consortium. Nate Anderson, Emma Smith, the lead officer said, stepping forward. You are under arrest for attempted murder, conspiracy to commit murder, child endangerment, financial fraud, and forgery. You have the right to remain silent. Attempted murder? Nate screamed as the cold steel handcuffs were clamped around his wrists. No. It was a domestic dispute. It was just a misunderstanding. The resort security cameras captured the entire incident at the pool in high definition, the officer replied coldly. You stood by and watched while Emma Smith attempted to drown Lila White, and you did nothing to assist. Emma Smith was also seen striking the victim with a weapon. It is all on tape. Emma shrieked as she was also handcuffed, her wrists locked behind her back. Nate. Do something. You promised me you would protect me. You promised me we would be rich. Shut up. You useless bitch. It's all your fault. Nate yelled, spitting at her. If you hadn't insisted on coming to this resort, we would have been fine. The 2 of them began to scream and curse at each other as the police dragged them toward the exit. Ollie was taken by a social worker who followed behind, crying loudly for his mother. Just before they reached the doors, Nate turned his head, looking at Lila one last time. He saw her standing beside Liam, wrapped in his warmth, looking beautiful, safe, and loved. He saw the pink diamond necklace around her neck, sparkling brilliantly in the sunlight, the genuine article, worth more than his entire logistics company had ever been. He realized then, with a crushing weight, what he had thrown away. He had traded a loyal, loving wife who would have stood by him through anything, for a greedy, manipulative mistress who had led him to ruin. And now, he would spend the rest of his life in a cold prison cell, while the woman he abandoned lived like a queen in the arms of the most powerful man in the country. With a final, desperate wail, Nate was pushed into the back of the police cruiser, the doors slamming shut on his ruined life. That afternoon, the Oasis resort was filled with laughter, music, and the sweet scent of flowers. Poppy's 4th birthday party was a grand success. Children from the local town and the families of the resort staff ran around the beautifully decorated gardens, playing games and eating cake. Poppy, wearing a beautiful pink princess dress and her custom pink diamond necklace, was running around with a group of friends, her laughter ringing out like silver bells. Her cheeks were rosy, her breathing perfectly clear and healthy. Lila and Liam stood by the edge of the garden, watching her with smiles on their faces. She looked so happy, Lila whispered, resting her head against Liam's shoulder. I never thought we would have a day like this, Liam. 3 years ago, I thought my life was over. Liam wrapped his arms around her from behind, pulling her close against his chest. Your life was not over, Lila. It was just waiting for me to find you. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, elegant velvet box. He opened it, revealing a flawless, brilliant cut diamond ring that sparkled with a fire that rivaled the desert sun. Lila gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Liam. Lila, Liam said, his voice deep and filled with an unwavering devotion. 3 years ago, I found you in the sand, and my heart has belonged to you ever since. I know we married quickly, under the law, to protect you and Poppy. But today, in front of the world, I want to ask you properly. He took her hand, looking into her eyes with absolute sincerity. Will you do me the honor of being my wife, not just on paper, but for the rest of our lives? Will you let me love you, cherish you, and protect you and Poppy forever? Tears of pure happiness welled up in Lila's eyes. She smiled, a radiant, beautiful smile that banishes every shadow of her past. Yes, Lila whispered, her voice steady and full of love. Yes, Liam. 1,000 times, yes. Liam smiled, sliding the ring onto her finger. He leaned down and captured her lips in a deep, passionate kiss, while the sound of children's laughter and the gentle desert wind echoed around them. The desert was no longer a place of exile, of fear, or of hunger. With Liam by her side, the desert had become her oasis. She had finally found her true home.